Hello and welcome back to Continental Club, where we discuss the hottest topics in European football. We're back in the East Dulwich Tavern in our correct position this week, and we've got the correct lineup, if there is such a thing. I've got Michael McCubbin and Henry Hill. Henry's got his England shirt on, 2010 vibes, but this tournament is going to be better, isn't it?
I hope so. That was 2010 was absolutely horrible. I wore this when I went to Brazil in 2014. That wasn't much better. And yeah, obviously Russia was a great success, and for England, it's going to be crash or rocket.
Glory.
Yeah, it's one of the two, and I'm not sure what it's going to be just yet. I'm hugely pessimistic and optimistic at the same time, which is quite a fun place to be.
Love it. That's classic England vibes, I think.
Yeah.
McCubbs, how are you? We got the opportunity this week. I was going to ask you. I didn't actually see your response. Chris put out that email saying, which World Cup shirt do you want?
Yes.
Thanks to Adidas. Which one did you go for?
I went for Mexico away with the kind of Aztec. There's kind of Aztec design on it, well, Aztec-inspired design. I can't remember the name of the Aztec god. It'll come to me. Basically, he's kind of depicted on it somewhere. Yeah, kind of like a burgundy and kind of a cream burgundy number. Quite like. Well, what about yourself?
I actually went for Germany home.
Okay, yeah, but that is a great kit.
It is a really nice shirt. I've never worn a Germany shirt, and I feel a bit weird about it. Don't mean to big up old rivalries, etc. But it does feel a bit uncomfortable. I don't know. Would you wear your notoriously biggest rival, or one of your biggest rival shirts? Let me know in the comments. I don't know. I've never really worn another nation's from Europe's shirt as well. So it's going to be interesting. Anyway, today, as you could expect, we are doing our predictions for the World Cup. We've got 5 or 6 categories. We've actually got loads to get through. We're going to focus more on dark horses further into the video, but for now, we want definitive answers on all of this. None of this wishy-washy, it could be this nation, it could be this nation. I want answers. McCubbs, winners, the big one. Okay. What are we kicking off with?
Going straight in with the winners. Okay. I mean, I think the great thing about this World Cup is, from a football standpoint, obviously, if you want to hear about the kind of away from the field stuff, Henry did a great video on things to know about the World Cup. Go and check that out after this. Obviously, there's loads of quite difficult and bad things about this World Cup. But from a football perspective, I do feel like there's a lot of top international teams who are at a pretty good moment at the moment. I do feel like it's wide open in that sense. I think Germany and Spain, like this time last year, I was convinced that one of Germany or Spain were going to win it. I still think they're very strong shouts. But I do think that Argentina, on their 36-game unbeaten run, I just think they're in a really good place at the moment. It's probably going to be Messi's last World Cup, isn't it? Scaloni, I think, has done a great job tactically with this team. It's quite a pragmatic setup. They were playing, I think, a 4-4-2 the other day in their friendly against the UAE. Had McAllister playing at left mid.
What
striking
a year
options.
he's had.
Amazing. Crazy.
I just think that they're in a really good spot, and I feel like Argentina and Brazil are most people's kind of top 2 going into this tournament. I think they are potentially the 2 most impressive teams, and I just think if Argentina were to come up against Brazil, I think
they're set to do if they win their groups in the semi-final.
They'll be in the semi-final, won't they?
Whoa.
I think Argentina win that game. I just think Copa America, they did it, didn't they? I think they were the better team in the Copa America final as well on Brazilian soil. And I think, everyone in that team is going to be playing out of their skins for Messi. I just think, I think they're the ones this time around.
He's one of those figures, isn't he, where, some people in other nations get sort of jealous of their best player or whatever, but they've always just been so behind him and been lived through his sort of disappointments at international level up until that Copa America, and they all seem to really care and want him to succeed. So I totally agree with that point. Also, I know it was only the UAE, but they did have a friendly result on Wednesday night and looked very good in that. Some great goals, not least from Di Maria. They've got Saudi Arabia in their first game, so hopefully if they get a positive result against them, that sets them up really nicely for the tournament. But Henry, I'm waffling here. We want your answer. Who is going to be your winner?
My concern of Argentina is the defence.
Okay.
I will say, I think every team...
believe in the Sandro?
Every team does have an Achilles heel, and I do think... Well, no, I think Martinez is an epic defender. I really think he is. The players around them, though, I think they are susceptible to be broken down. That said, the 4-4-2 they play doesn't necessarily mean their defence has to be too attacking. They can kind of sit back and let the rest of the team go forward. And with Messi, anything can happen, let's face it. I just think Brazil, I think they've got the fewest problems in their squads. really the only thing I look at that squad and think they're missing something is in the fullback areas.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing I've just said again. They've got so much attacking talent going forward. Casemiro, even he can get forward if he needs to. They've got Bruno Guimaraes, they've got Paqueta as well. They've got so many forwards that can plough in. I think Richarlison plays such an effective role up there, a selfless role. And Neymar, like Messi, is in unbelievable form this season. I think he's going to be even happier playing for Brazil. I mean, I remember 2014, what a player, and I think we might see something like that again. So I actually am making Brazil my favourites, even though I think their group with Serbia and Switzerland is going to be hard. It's going to be really hard. Switzerland love an upset. Serbia, we'll talk about them later, looking great. I also, like you, I think we did in the Christmas special last year, we predicted who we thought was going to win then. I went for Germany. I still have got a feeling about Germany. Although their striker situation is a bit difficult, they've still got Sane, Gnabry, Musiala, etc. coming in behind, who all know each other, play with each other week in, week out. They're going to be a threat. And actually, I was so impressed by Spain at the Euros, and they've played really well recently, 7 wins in their last 10. Looks really confident in Nations League. So yeah, I'm backing Spain and Germany to do really well, but I'm just going to go for Brazil.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, the Germany one's interesting, actually, because they could hypothetically pick an entire Bayern midfield and attack. And I mean, that's a major, major advantage. I just think they are slightly susceptible at right back and left back, actually, with David Raum, their sort of only really, really top left back that they've brought, because Robin Gosens wasn't picked. And I was watching the highlights of their game against Oman, and they dominated that game as you'd expect. But there were some dangerous moments on the counter-attack for Oman. And I think that Germany might occasionally get caught out. Hansi Flick's Bayern did occasionally get caught out on the break, which I do slightly worry about. But having said that, the only 3 sides that I can see winning this competition are Argentina, Brazil, and even still France. I do still have a little bit of faith in France. But having said that, I just don't see it, Henry. I don't see it. But having said that, no side has retained the World Cup since 1962, I believe,
Really? Wow.
which is mental. And 4 of the last 5 winners have all been knocked out in the group stage. Only Brazil in 2006, when they got to the quarterfinals, have made it out of the groups. Of the last 3 winners, they've only won 2 of their 9 games combined in their next tournament. So there is a bit of a curse on the previous winners. They're missing Kante, they're missing Pogba, Varane's fitness is a doubt, and Kunku picked up that tournament-ending injury in the week, which was so sad for him, having been in such blistering form for RB Leipzig for about 2 years now. So I do have my doubts about France as well. For me, I'm joining Team McCubbin.
Yeah.
I'm going Vamos Argentina, baby.
That'd be fun. That would be fun. I wouldn't be for that. I will say France's group is pretty easy. I mean, Denmark is a tough
They
game.
lost to Denmark twice.
I think Denmark could win that group, actually. We'll get on to Denmark,
I agree with
won't
you,
we?
but if they can't get past Tunisia, I think and Australia as well. Like Australia, probably the weakest team going into this tournament.
This is another thing, though. If Denmark do win that group with France and Argentina, as expected, win their group, then it will be Argentina v France in the last 16 again, rematch of 2018. And I feel like the tables have turned a little bit for both of those teams since then.
Love it. Right, guys, those are our winners, obviously. Definitive answers. We've gone Argentina, Brazil. Right, let's move on to Golden Boot. We can do this a bit quicker, but I will tell you the odds at the moment. Odds Checker, which is a British odds comparison site, has actually Harry Kane as the favourite, which I thought was quite niche. But having said that, he is an elite striker. If England go far in this tournament, which we're all a little bit worried about, he's going to be crucial to that, and he is our main source of goals. So, it's a possibility. Then they had Mbappe, pretty sensible. Benzema, pretty sensible. Messi, and then Neymar. So all the players you'd kind of expect. But, guys, the last Golden Boot winner to also win the World Cup was Ronaldo in 2002, which makes me think it could be a little bit more niche. Someone has 4 goals in the groups, Lewandowski, for example. It's going to be difficult to top that. McCubbs, you went first last time.
Yep.
Henry, who is your Golden Boot winner?
Well, you never know. Like a Uruguay could produce Suarez. Great article in the
Nunez isn't a bad shout.
Yeah, I was just reading an article about Cavani in the Guardian, which is really good. Really, he's really. They're all going for it. They're really excited. So Nunez, I actually think, is like an outside shout for the Golden Boot if Uruguay get off to a flyer. But I'm probably going to go for Benzema in a funny way. I just think he amazing when he played during the Euros. Some of the goals he scored. I think Mbappe is going to be much happier with the national team. They work well. I think it's going to be one of those two, really. I'm sort of like you, I'm not expecting France to win the tournament, but I can just see them really cleaning up in the group stages. Anyway, and Benzema, he's making up for lost time with the national team, isn't he, after being frozen out for so long. So, I've just got a feeling about him, but you can't overlook the South Americans either. Yeah,
Benzema's a good shout. The Cubs?
I'm going to be quite boring and just go for Neymar. I just think, although I don't necessarily see Brazil winning the tournament, I think they do have the best attack of any of the teams. Like Henry was saying, like they've got all that support coming from midfield as well. They really are just an all-out attack side. And Neymar is still their main goal scorer. I think it's 75 goals in 121 games. I think he can beat Pele's record at this World Cup. I think he only needs 2 more to match Pele's record, which has stood since the 70s. So, like, I mean, Neymar is an all-time great. You know, could really forge you know, himself as an all-time great at this tournament in a Brazilian sense. And yeah, I just think that group that they got is it is quite tough. And so, you know, if Serbia or Switzerland give them a tough game and they're really hard to break down, then that could be the difference between Neymar winning it and not winning it. Because I think, a lot, you know, as we saw in the last World Cup, pretty much all of Harry Kane's goals came in the group, didn't they? Pretty much all of them were penalties as well.
That back heel against Panama?
The back heel against Panama was pretty amazing, from 20 yards out. Just a piece of genius. I just see him being the one. I think that is it. I think Brazil will probably, whether or not they win the tournament, I think they probably will score the most goals of any team. And I think Neymar's the guy.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'd love to go for someone niche like Mitrovic.
Yes, I was just thinking that.
I went for Lewandowski at the Euros, and his record in major tournaments for Poland is just so bad, despite him having a great goal scoring record for them in general. Yeah. So I feel like I'm a little bit scarred by that, which is why I've gone. But like, I'd love for someone like Mitrovic to get it.
On another show, I was asked this a couple of weeks ago, and I went Lukaku, and it was about a month ago, and that has not aged very well in the build-up to this tournament because he just hasn't played much football. No. Having said that, he has been really good at major tournaments for Belgium in the past, particularly playing on that sort of right wing role that Bobby Martinez likes to use him in. The Neymar equation is really interesting because actually in 2018, he was getting pelters from everyone for his performances of 2018 and his theatrics in particular. And a lot of Brazil's fans at that time were actually saying Coutinho was playing a lot better than Neymar. But, 4 years on, it's a completely different story. Neymar has established himself once again as that main man. I'm quite boringly going to go Mbappe. It just seems like quite a safe bet. He loves playing with Giroud. I think that relationship with Benzema will only improve. And that supply line coming from Griezmann and behind that, Tchouaméni, Camavinga should be relatively solid. He should have loads of ball to play with. And Mbappe's just been lethal for PSG so far this year. So slightly boring for me. But anyway, let's move on to Golden Ball. Now, the previous winners of the Golden Ball include Modric, Messi, Forlan, Zidane and Kane. Again, none of those were champions in the year they won it. So it doesn't necessarily have to go to the best player in the winning team.
I think 4 of those did make the final at least.
This is true. This is true. And Messi, particularly in 2014, that was a bit unfair that he won it.
Yeah, Robin.
Robin for sure in that one. That was a bit of an outrage. But anyway, it's Messi, so we'll let it slide. Guys, who are we going for Golden Ball? Maybe a bit more of a niche out. Maybe someone else who you haven't mentioned. Is there anyone that particularly comes to mind, McCubs?
I was going to go Messi, to be honest. I've kind of set these answers in stone because we did another video that came out yesterday where I did make some of these predictions. But Messi, I think, is my shout because I think Argentina are going to win the tournament, and if they do win the tournament, Messi's going to have played a huge role there. This Argentina team are great, but Messi is obviously still the main man. Messi is still going to probably provide the most assists if they win. Like, everything goes through him still. But as for an outside shout, I'm not sure, I'm trying to think. I feel like maybe, I don't know, like a Pedri maybe, or I'm trying to think other, for Germany maybe.
I've got a bit of a
if Thomas Müller is a regular starter for Germany, or if Leroy Sané obviously he's an amazing form, isn't he? Maybe
Serge Gnabry too.
Yeah, maybe he could light up the tournament. Serge Gnabry actually, I think, is a shout for Golden Boot as well. We should have mentioned him in that category. Maybe someone like that, someone who really comes alive and is in really good form right now. Yeah, I'd say Messi, but if not, maybe someone like Sané.
Nice, Henry.
Yeah, I mean, on the theme of just saying some more outside names, I think Anguissa could have an amazing tournament. I'd love to see. I was right off Cameroon a few weeks ago, but the more I look at their squad, the more I look at their attack, I actually think there's a lot going for them there. I think Gareth Bale is going to have an amazing tournament. I've just got a feeling that he's basically saved himself for this moment, and he does step up for Wales. It's undeniable. The free kick he scored against Austria in the playoffs was one of the best.
Can you say Wales get knocked out in the last 16 or quarters?
No. I think they'd have to at least get to the quarters for that to happen. not to go back to Uruguay again, I think Fede Valverde could have an amazing tournament, and I do think Uruguay could get to the semi-finals at very, very least. They've got such a solid squad, such a familiar squad that have played with each other for never and ever. So much balance between youth and experience in that side. So I think Valverde is my outside shout for a golden ball, but I think it's going to go to Messi. It seems quite political.
I agree. I think it probably will go to Messi if he performs and Argentina make the semis. But having said that, FIFA and the watching world love a storyline. If Denmark make a semi-final or a quarter-final, someone like Christian Eriksen having come back from the dead literally a year ago, I can see that wave starting. People tweeting, it just goes crazy.
You're so right. His performance against France as well in the Nations League at home, I think it was 8 key passes. It's like a perfect 40-yard ball, which set up Dansgaard to cross in for Dolberg. Like he's going to be bang up for this. He's also just appreciating every minute, and for Denmark as well. Scored his first goal for United recently, so coming in on good form. I think you're so right with Eriksen.
Yeah, I think I will go with Eriksen. I also have a weird feeling that Joshua Kimmich is going to have an amazing tournament because he hasn't really done it in a tournament yet. At international level at least. He's been fantastic in the Champions League for years. I think he'll have a good tournament. De Bruyne's got a lot of work to do, in my opinion, with that Belgium squad, but he's again been frighteningly good this year. But I'm going to stick with Christian Eriksen. So we've got Eriksen, Neymar, Messi. Okay, I'm going to go more to the outsider there as well. You went for Messi as well.
I'll go Valverde.
Okay, we've got a late change there. Okay, let's move on to young player. So this award was created in 2006. It has to go to a player who was 21 or younger at the start of the tournament. And we've got a number of players down here. Henry, who do you like the look of?
Honestly, I'm going to say Bellingham. Bellingham out of this lot. I think
that's that shirt shining through.
There we go. No, I think he's going to be the real difference. We talked about this a little bit on the talking point the other day. I just think what he brings to that England midfield, being able to sit back but also drive and progress the ball through the lines there, I think is going to be so important. And I do think England are going to get through the group. They should get through the group. And then anything can happen beyond that. People have gone on about the Hungary result too much in some ways. Like, it is a disgrace, and they were still paying in front of people that have paid money to be there. But I think you've said it. It's the end of a very long, busy season. I think they were just trying to get the game out of the way, to be honest. I think England are going to be much better than people are giving them credit for. And on that regard, I think Bellingham, although Musiala could push him pretty close.
Love it. Cubs?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. It kind of depends how much game time these players get. Like Musiala has started quite a few games for Germany now, but then he does also play in the same position as Thomas Müller in that system. So it depends whether Hansi Flick wants to go with experience or youth, primarily in the opening stages of the tournament. Bellingham, I think, is a great shout as well. Like he has been one of England's most important players recently. But I am actually going to go for another England player. Also, Youssoufa Moukoko. If Germany are having problems up front and they do decide to stick Moukoko up there, I can see him cleaning up. Like I can actually see him cleaning up. He's like, considering has he just turned 18 or he's turning 18 this month if he hasn't already
on the 20th.
On the 20th. Okay, so on the eve of the tournament. Or tomorrow. Is this the 20th tomorrow as this goes
It'll
out?
be on 2 days' time.
Yeah,
2 days' time.
Happy birthday for then, Youssoufa.
He's actually a big Continental Club fan.
He is, yeah. He's always writing in. Loves the East Dulwich Tavern as well. But, actually, no, he's not old enough to drink yet, so maybe not. But nevertheless, like, considering how young he is, the fact that I think he's just one of the best players in Germany, in the Bundesliga, like this season, is pretty amazing. However, having rambled on a little bit now, I do think Bukayo Saka, if he gets the game, if he is England's starting right winger, and England make it past the last 16 and do so, and turn on the style in games, I think a lot of that's going to go through Saka. I think he really made a big difference when he was on the field for England at the Euros. I know Sterling was really the main man, but I think that attack went to another level when Saka was on there in terms of creativity from out wide, in terms of having someone who can take on players at will from that right-hand side and cut in and, just getting the ball into those really dangerous areas towards the byline and towards the 6-yard box. Saka is just masterful at that, and he is easily a better player than he was 18 months ago as well. And I think out of a lot of these players, like Saka's got a lot of experience. He's still only 20 years old, I think, but he's got a ton of experience, and he's a really, really mature guy. He's been in that England setup for a long time now. So yeah, I think I'm going to go for him.
Nice. He's had bad international experiences as well with that penalty miss, of course. Obviously, he had a great tournament, but he's been through the mill in that sense as well. I would go for someone like Nuno Mendes as well, but I just think Fernando Santos might play Rafael Guerreiro and might stick with the older generation for one final tournament before he's eventually sacked.
I think it's good we haven't really mentioned many defenders so far, because a lot of this doesn't really lend itself to defenders, and I think you're so right. Nuno Mendes has been excellent since he's gone to PSG. Really just not looked out of place at all in that side. Although Alphonso Davies tends to play a more attacking role for Canada, I'd love to see, I think they're going to be relishing that. And I'd love to see Saliba get loads of minutes for France. He'd be epic. And actually, I'm going to say Gvardiol. I still think Croatia are in great form. Won their Nations League group, and he's going to have loads to do next to either Lovren or Vida in that centre half. And I think Gvardiol, we've all been raving about him anyway. I think Gvardiol this could be the moment that people go, you know what, we will stump up 70 million euros, whatever it is, for him this summer, because he's that good a player. Nice.
We've also been slowly bigging up Japan for a few months now. And I just have a little feeling that they might spring a surprise against Spain or Germany.
That'd be fun.
And in which case I think Kubo could play a massive role. I think Kubo's an excellent player. I love watching him. Xavi Simons as well, if Netherlands go far, I think he could have a breakout tournament. His PSV form's excellent. There is a lot of competition in Louis van Gaal's squad actually at the moment. It looks on paper like one of the strongest in Europe actually at the moment, which we'll get onto in due course. But don't bet against Kubo or Xavi Simons for me. Right, quickly, before we go into our dark horses, the main bulk of the show, let's talk quickly about a flop. Henry, who do you see disappointing their fans and their nation?
This one's really hard, I think.
There's quite a few European sides who aren't in the best of form.
Yes, I agree with you. Obviously, France have one win in 6 games, but that will go against most of the things I've said already on this show to put them as a flop.
We're kind of covering all bases.
I'm just going to say Portugal based on what's happened.
Fair.
I do not think Rui Patricio is a top-level keeper anymore. He makes a lot of saves, but for every great save, he makes a pretty bad blunder every now and then. I think Ronaldo, Pepe still at centre half. I just think, although I do like the Portuguese team, I just think they might have a difficult time with it.
We've got Uruguay and Ghana in that group as well, which is quite challenging. The Cubs?
I think I probably will go for France. Out of the big teams, I just feel like there's the biggest potential for France to, they've got a very tough Denmark side in their group. Like I said, I feel like they could finish second in that group, in which case they would be up against Argentina in the last 16. That midfield, I just think that midfield being completely new it could be a problem. Like Tchouaméni and Camavinga, obviously two of the best young midfielders in Europe. Tchouaméni potentially the best young midfielder in Europe. However, and they are in the same Real Madrid team as well. Let's not forget. However, they haven't played together loads and loads. Tchouaméni's obviously got a lot of game time this season. Camavinga still isn't a regular for Real, and I just think that Kante-Pogba duo, that was there for 6 years, and Deschamps has relied a lot on his most experienced players over the years, and I think they probably were the best midfield duo in international football for that time. So I just think that's going to be huge for them, and I just feel like there's going to be it's obviously a bit of a cliche in terms of France imploding and whatnot, but I just think they're not going to. If France don't get to the quarterfinals or they go out before the semi-finals, I think that will be
deemed a flop.
Yeah, deemed a flop. I think like it will be for a lot of these teams. But I just think out of them, Germany and Spain, who I've spoken about before, none of them are in amazing form. But I just rate Germany and Spain more. So I think France are going to be the ones who disappoint the most.
Yeah, I mean, France and Portugal are great candidates, to be honest. I struggle to look past them. I think flop is all about perception as well. And if England get knocked out before a quarterfinals, or even in the quarterfinals as well, there will be a lot of people that will blame it on Southgate and call him a flop and say our tournament was a disaster, which it might well be. But it's not. Getting knocked out in the quarterfinals doesn't necessarily mean you've had an absolute shocking tournament. Like England could win this group quite comfortably and somehow slip up against Senegal, Ecuador, Netherlands, or get beaten by Argentina or France in the quarters. and Southgate will be called a failure when he shouldn't be, in my opinion. No matter what happens at this tournament, he should always be, in my opinion, remembered as one of England's best ever managers.
What do you think about Belgium, out of interest? Because for a team that have been consistently ranked 1 or 2 in the world for the last 5 years, I think they could have an awful tournament.
They've got quite a favourable group, which should stand them in reasonable stead. But yeah, it's similar to a lot of these. Similar to a bit like Portugal, I suppose. A lot of that old guard are sort of clinging on. Witzel, Mertens is still in the squad. Hazard,
Alderweireld,
Vertonghen. It's not filling you with a lot of confidence that there's a lot of fresh energy in there. Having said that, if he picks the Wout Fezes, the Tielemanses, the Onanas, Jeremy Doku on the wing as well. Like there are some exciting players in Belgium.
Also, I feel like I don't know what the expectation is with Belgium these days. Obviously,
is it quite low at the moment? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like even going into 2018, like they were still considered strong, but they weren't necessarily considered. It was kind of now or never, that tournament. It felt like 2018, and they made this. They came third place, and I think that was a successful tournament for them. Beat an amazing Brazil side in the quarterfinals. Really took them, really took them apart. So yeah, I feel like with Belgium, it's hard to know what the expectations are. Like I don't go into this tournament thinking that Belgium are going to make a splash, and obviously they weren't amazing at the Euros either. So yeah, I feel like if Belgium make the quarters, that's a fine tournament. If they make it any further, that's I think that they're going beyond what people expect. Personally.
Nice. So flops, we're going Portugal, France. And for some reason I'm going England, even though I don't really believe that, but whatever, we'll stick with it. Dark horses then, let's get into this. We've actually touched on most of these sides.
There's a lot of them.
I'm going to kick off with the Netherlands. I think the Netherlands should not be underestimated at all. I think it's 11 wins in 15, they're unbeaten in 15 games in that time as well. They've beaten Poland, they've beaten Wales twice, they've beaten Belgium twice, they've beaten Denmark in that time as well. They've got players in great form in Gakpo and Xavi Simons. And Louis van Gaal has done well at World Cups in the past. He had a really bad World Cup the first time he was in management with the Netherlands, but the second time, that World Cup semi-final in 2014, which a lot of Dutch fans actually look back on more fondly than when they made the final in 2010, just because the style of play was so much better. They obviously had that famous game against Spain where they vanquished them 5-1 with Robin van Persie scoring that ridiculous header. Ian Robben was great. Like, they won't necessarily be the most entertaining side to watch. They'll probably play 3-5-2, but I love the composition of some of those players like Koop Miners and Frankie de Jong with Martin de Roon in midfield. That's really exciting. Gakpo, Depay up front potentially. At the back, Van Dijk as the sort of totem, and then you've got Nathan Ake and Urian Timber on the right-hand side. They are a bit weak at goalkeeper, which is a little bit of a worry. They haven't had good goalkeepers for quite a while, the Netherlands, and I think it's going to be Remco Klasveer in goal for them as well, who is approaching 40. Approaching 40.
He's not looked good in the Champions League.
Which is a little bit worrying. So I'm going to go Netherlands dark horses. I actually think that's a bit of a cop-out, because I think they are above a dark horse in status, if that makes sense.
It's a little bit like people saying Italy at the Euros,
exactly.
Which a few people at FD did, shamefully.
Yeah, shamefully. Guys, I want some actual dark horses.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with the Netherlands, they've also got big Luc de Jong to bring on towards the end of games as well, which I think
I watched him destroy Arsenal the other day.
It's a classic Van Gaal kind of secret weapon, isn't it?
Van Gaal will have some tricks.
I'm really looking forward to I'm just really looking forward to Van Gaal really being back in the spotlight again in press conferences and whatnot.
The memory of like Van Persie scoring that header and their high five. It's so good. I don't know what it is about it. Yeah.
I want him to recreate when he goes down on the old Trafford touchline. He's such an iconic manager.
Yeah.
In terms of entertainment, he's up there with Mourinho for me as the most entertaining manager.
Yeah, he's more of an oddball than Mourinho as well, which makes it great. I think there's quite a lot of teams that can be considered dark horses. Obviously, Henry, you've mentioned Uruguay already. Denmark, I think, are a lot of people's dark horses. I just think their squad is great, and they were a really, really tough opposition in the Euros for everyone who came up against them, weren't they? And their defence is really solid. I'm not sure whether Kjær's going to be. Is he fit now, Kjær?
I think he's in the squad, but I'm not sure whether he'll start.
Yeah, but still, like to have Christensen, Anderson, to have Eriksson now thriving in a deeper role. Norgard, Højbjerg, Lindstrøm, like that. They do just have a really good squad.
That spine is very good.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and they obviously have an excellent manager as well. So I do think that they have a shout. I think they're definitely going to get through their group, and then who knows? I think they were actually somewhat unlucky actually at the last World Cup. They went out in the last 16 on penalties to Croatia. I think that game could have really gone either way, and that penalty shootout, I seem to remember, could have gone either way as well. It really looked like Denmark had taken the initiative there. So like, and that was, Croatia went on to make the final. I'm going to go with, and I'm putting my neck out here a little bit because I don't think they're in as strong a position as they could be, but I think Senegal. I just think they're a great tournament team. They absolutely smashed the AFCON, obviously took penalties to win it, but I think they were the best team at the tournament.
Oh, yeah.
They also showed great nerve to then beat Egypt again on penalties to get to the World Cup just a month later. Sadio Mane got the winning penalty in both cases. Obviously this is the worry, is that Sadio Mane may not be fit. I think they were saying that he may not be fit for the first game or two, but might be fit for the last game. Luckily that group isn't the worst group to be in, but Netherlands obviously really hard opposition to start with. Ecuador I think could be a little bit of a surprise in terms of
they rarely lose by a lot.
Yeah,
I was looking at some of their results. It's
great young team.
Yeah,
really great young team.
And they're very counter-attacking. I think they're quite defensively. Pretty defensively sound, and they are one of 4 South American teams to have made it through, and we all know how difficult it is to come through South American qualifying. So Ecuador aren't to be sniffed at, but I just think Senegal still, they still have a number of brilliant players, and they've got Koulibaly and Abdou Diallo at the back. They've got Edouard Mendy, who, if he's on form, could be one of the best goalkeepers at the tournament. Ismail Assar, obviously at midfield with Idrissa Gueye. There's actually a lot of players in there as well who are going to be playing their last World Cups in terms of that spine of Mane and Koulibaly and Idrissa Gueye.
Yeah.
So, I just really like that Senegal team. I think that whenever I've seen them play, they're not necessarily playing the most electrifying football in the world, but they've got players who can produce magic moments, and they also just function really well. They move the ball really nicely upfield. I think Senegal, if Mane can come back and fire, because he is obviously hugely important for them, I can see them making a quarter-final potentially.
Love it. Someone like Ismail Assar as well on one wing, and then Crepin Diatta, I think, is on the other wing as well, from Monaco. Really exciting player. Henry, so we've got Netherlands and Senegal. Yeah. Who are you putting forward?
Just quickly add, Boulaye Dia is banging form for Salernitana. He's been brilliant this season, so I'm excited to see. I like the fact we've mentioned an African team, Morocco. I'm really excited to see what this Morocco side are going to do.
I've never watched Morocco play, really.
It's like Hakimi, Mazraoui on the wing backs, Boufal, he's a really fun player when he wants to be. And Nassiri up front, Ziyech as well. There's an exciting side, and they're in Belgium's group with Canada. Yeah. I think Canada are going to have a difficult time. I think everyone's excited that they're there. I'm not sure the reality is going to be quite translating to that much success. But yeah, I think Morocco.
All the Canadians have just switched off.
Sorry guys, we'll see. I love Saul Larin, but yeah, I think that Morocco could cause a bit of a stir as well. But yeah, I'm going to stick with Serbia. I've been saying it for a long time. Goalkeeper, they're all right. Defence. Okay, it could be better, but I think the rest of the side is just so fun. It's just so fun. I mean, I saw James Lawrence Alcott call Kostic the best crosser in world football at the moment, and that's so true. And if he's crossing the ball, he's got 2 of the best big old lumps in the box to go to, and that's not giving credit to Mitrovic and Vlahovic, but yeah, what a strike pairing. The fact they've managed to make that work with Tadic behind. Tadic is going to have an epic tournament. I can just see it already. He's such a brilliant player when he wants to get going. And then Milinkovic, Savic as well, Lukic supporting him. I mean, it's a really exciting squad. And it's fun.
At the back as well.
It's funny because when Scotland beat them to qualify for the Euros on penalties, you're sort of thinking, how on earth has that happened? Yeah. Roll on a few years and something's clearly clicked and they're in a great moment. Once again, really hard group, Cameroon, Switzerland, Brazil, anything could really happen in there beside probably Brazil getting through. But this is it for Serbia, I think. They might have another 4-year cycle, but this is really prime kind of for their players going into that tournament. Yeah. I love the fact every player in their squad ends in itch without fail. So, yeah.
I think that game against Switzerland, I think, might be one of the games of the tournament, just because they both those teams know that that's the crucial one, don't they? Obviously, they also need to be a Cameroon side, which are probably a bit underrated, but they're probably both expecting not to beat Brazil or perhaps lose to them. That game is going to be absolutely huge. I'm not sure when it falls, whether it's the first or second or third game, but yeah, that's going to be one of the must-watch games, I think. Absolutely.
I think after the Germany, Spain, Japan group, it's probably one of the hardest groups to call. I think, for sure. Guys, those are our dark horses. winners, top goal scorers, golden ball winners, etc. Get yours in lists. So we want the 6 categories like that. Put it in the comments. We'll reply to as many as possible. And let's move on to our big match predictions, World Cup style. Before we get into those World Cup predictions, though, it's worth recapping what happened with our final round of top 5 league predictions last weekend. So Schalke versus Bayern, slipped that in there. Bayern did win 2-0, but none of us got the scoreline correct even. 3-0, 4-0, 5-0. We all take a point. Good to be back on form though, guys, because we had a shocker the week before. Monaco versus Marseille. Henry backed Monaco. McCubs went 2-2. Which that scoreline just needs to be banned, I think, now. Never comes in.
Of course, but yeah, I mean, it was going to come in. 2 minutes till the end. Then Dimitri Payet, like...
True. That was a great game. I went 2-1 Marseille. It was actually 3-2 to Marseille. As McCubb says, they came back from 2-1 down. 1 point to me. Juventus versus Lazio. Henry backed Lazio, which didn't seem that silly at the time. McCubbs and me both went 1-0 Juventus in that kind of mix-up of who everyone was going to go for. Anyway, finished 3-0 Juve. Their top form in Serie A continues. World Cup has probably come at the wrong time for them, some would say. Yeah. So the scores on the doors are Doogie's on 28, Henry's on 17, and McCubbs is on 13. So the battle for second place continues.
Well done.
I joke. Well it can change fast in a World Cup, particularly the first round of fixtures in World Cups. Notoriously difficult to predict and notoriously low scoring as well. Let's kick off with the biggest game of the first few days at least from our perspective, selfishly. England versus Iran, Monday, 1 o'clock British time, Group B, of course. McCubbs, I mean, we know all about England, so we'll keep the England section pretty brief,
Yeah.
But Iran, it's been a weird week for them.
You know, Iran going into the World Cup is, you know, overshadowed by the political protests in Iran, you know, huge anti-government protests over there at the moment, you know, and you know, ones that have been supported by, you know, a lot of players. You know, I was reading today, Ali Dyer, the country's greatest ever player, top scorer, one of the top scorers in international football history, has refused his invitation to Qatar because he wants to stay back in Iran, kind of, I guess in solidarity with the protesters. He doesn't feel like it's right to go out there. Azmoun, who's one of the, I think he is the top scorer of active Iranian players. He's been included in the squad by Carlos Queiroz, despite being injured actually, and also, was pretty strongly speaking out against the government back in September. There were reports last week that I saw that that apparently the Iranian government were saying to Queiroz that he shouldn't put Azmoun in the squad, but they haven't been confirmed. There was like one report, so I'm not sure what to make of that. But Queiroz did actually delay his squad announcement originally. But nevertheless, I think this is a team that can still cause England problems. Obviously, Taremi has been one of the forwards in Europe this season, 5 goals in the Champions League group stage. I think he will be a handful. And this Iran squad is incredibly experienced as well. I think they've got one of the... I think they might be the second oldest in terms of average squad age in the tournament. There are a lot of players who have played at a lot of international tournaments before in that sense, and they've now qualified for 3 World Cups in a row, which are the most consecutive finals they've reached in their history. So yeah, there is a core of players under Queiroz, and Queiroz has been at all 3 of those finals. Yeah. Let's remember as well. And Queiroz, I feel, really kind of considers the Iran national team to kind of be his home. I think that's basically what he said when he kind of came back from the Egypt job earlier this year. And yeah, so they are very tight knit, and also will considering everything that's going on back home for them, will be super determined to put in a great performance, and I think they will. Yeah, I think they will cause England some problems. I think this is not necessarily the most ideal game for England to start the tournament with. Having said that, I just think England do have a lot of quality. And I think we'll probably just about come through this game, but I can very much see it being, tied, with 10 or 5 minutes to go, and maybe just a piece of magic from Kane or Sterling just about winning it. So I think I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to England.
Fair enough. Henry?
Yeah,
you in agreement with that?
I agree with McCubbs, really, that this is going to be the hardest team to break down. I think USA are going to naively try and bring it to England in some senses, and Wales, that game could go either way. Just so much emotion and passion in that game. But Iran, I mean, they're not going to blow teams away, but Taremi, as you said, in great form. I agree with you. I think it's going to be a 1-0 victory to England. I don't think it's going to be a particularly great game, but I don't think it matters. It's just going to be Iran are going to... They've got a good side. I think they're going to put up a heavy defence and frustrate England. But I agree with you. I think we'll just pinch a goal, 1-0.
Fair enough. Yeah, I just think we really want to have our progression to the next round decided by the time of that Wales game.
Yeah,
Wales
otherwise-
get so up for playing England. They'll have that Martin Sheen speech playing on loop for about 3 days beforehand. You know, the daffodils flying around Cardiff. There'll be videos going all over social media. We do not want anything resting on that Wales game,
I agree.
particularly with Gareth Bale on the pitch. It's just going to be hell otherwise. So, on that basis, I want England to come out and really give the game to Iran, get an early goal, settle down, and win 3-0. Do I see that happening? No, but for the sake of this prediction, I'm going to go 3-0 England. Okay. Right, we're moving on to Senegal versus the Netherlands, also on Monday. Also, guys, worth saying, our regular content will change a bit during the World Cup. We're going to try and react to pretty much every single game, at least from the group stage, from the start of the group stage to the last 16, and probably beyond that, during the tournament as well. So look forward to those in our brand new studio. It's going to be a lot of fun. So you'll hear actually from, I think, all three of us maybe on Monday after these games at some point, if not on Tuesday or Wednesday. It's going to be a lot of fun. Anyway, Senegal versus the Netherlands, Monday, 4 p.m, Group A. Henry.
Yes, we have spoken about the talent that Senegal have, so I won't go too much into it. But I do think they should be optimistic with or without Mane. They're 18th in the world. I think it's their highest ever ranking. I love Aliou Cisse. He's a great manager. He's been there a long time. I hope he brings back the Puma suit that he was wearing 4 years ago, and the fans were excellent as well, if I remember too. So excited to have them back. I just think this isn't the game for them against the Netherlands. I think they will be looking very closely at the Qatar and the Ecuador game as the ones to really win here. I'm going to go 2-0 Netherlands. I just think they're going to.
That's what you want to
I'm struggling to see Senegal score, and I just can see Netherlands getting an early goal then a late goal. Yeah, 2-0.
Fair. McCubb's bit of pressure on the Netherlands.
Yeah.
We talked about them as a dark horse, but their tournament record, they haven't been to a lot of tournaments recently.
Well, no, I mean, they went to they were at Euro 2020, weren't they? But were pretty disappointing there. I think also we kind of expected them to be quite disappointing there. But yeah, I mean, Euro 2016 they weren't at, the 2018 World Cup they weren't at.
That's World Cup appearance since 2014.
Yeah, so and Van Gaal is back in the hot seat. So yeah, like
nothing has changed.
A little bit with like Kirosh and Duran. It feels like, you know, we're kind of like repeating things. But this Netherlands side is of course a lot better than the one that we saw even 18 months ago. Like Van Gaal is a much better coach than De Boer, especially in terms of.
I won't hear anything.
Especially in terms of tournaments, but also I think I think there's a lot of players who have come on along a lot since then. You know, namely, I think Memphis has always had a great scoring record for the Netherlands, but he's been. I think so. Yeah, in over the last kind of couple of years, obviously Cody Gakpo has really come on leaps and bounds since then. You know, someone like Yuri and Timber could have a great tournament. There's definitely someone I've missed there. I mean, Javi Simmons, like you were saying before. Yeah, I feel like we kind of covered them quite a lot in the last section. I do think, they're good. I feel like both of you are going for Netherlands wins here, though. Whoa. And I just think, you know what? I don't think a loss against the Netherlands will be a disaster for Senegal, like you were saying, Henry. I think, like in some ways, this has come at a good time because if Mane doesn't miss this game.
They kind of haven't dropped any points.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like, if Mane were to play this game, there's a chance they would lose anyway. But yeah, without him, it's hard. I just think, also Senegal shouldn't be underestimated from a defensive standpoint. Yeah. They do have a pretty good triangle there in terms of their centre-backs and goalkeepers. If Mendy has a stormer, then like I can see him really frustrating the Netherlands, and I feel like that's what my crystal ball is saying. I think Mendy might have an absolutely, world-class performance in him in this game. So I'm going to go 1-1.
Oh, throwback to the 2021 Champions League run where Mendy was superb. But I don't see that happening. I don't at all. I'm going to go 3-1 to the Netherlands. Okay. I'm going for a really exciting goal fest first round. Never happened. Nice. I don't know why I haven't learned from previous mistakes. Anyway, Japan versus Germany is the next big game, or the next big game with two relatively even opposition at least. Wednesday, Group E, 1 p.m. Oh, I'll go first on this one. You know, we have talked for weeks that Japan are ready to shock someone. But it's just a big call to back them to beat Germany, given the strength of that midfield that Germany have, given the form of Musiala, Sane, Gnabry, who we've already talked about, the fact that Rudiger is going into a World Cup as Germany's probably leading centre-back. Nicolas Süle's there, Schlotterbeck, like, they've got the choice between Neuer and Ter Stegen and goal. Like, Germany have a very, very good squad. They just have one notable weakness at right back. But, you know, teams have won World Cups with one notable weak position. I don't think it's out of the question. I'm going to go for maybe just 1-0 Germany. I've gone high scoring every game otherwise. So I'm going 1-0 Germany. McCubs, are you backing Japan?
No, I'm not going to back Japan. I'm afraid. You know, I need to make up the points, and I can't be affording to drop them on little hunches. And also, I've gone for a slightly unexpected scoreline in the Senegal game. I kind of have to go for Germany in this one. But again, like a little bit like with Iran, I think Japan are a better team than Iran, at least in terms of on paper, the players that they have. Like someone like Wataru Endo in midfield, I think could have, could play a really big role for them.
Was one of the players in the Bundesliga, of course.
Yeah, one of the top tacklers in the Bundesliga, or at least he was a couple of years ago for Stuttgart. I haven't looked at his numbers more recently, but like you say, Kamada as well. Brilliant. Like I think he's really come on a lot in the last kind of 12, 18 months for Frankfurt. I think this Japan team could cause Germany a scare. I think like you were saying, Dukes, Germany play like quite high pressing football, obviously play quite a high line, that Hansi Flick kind of style, and Japan do have players who can hit you on the break. Kamada is very used to doing that with Frankfurt. Yeah. I think Japan will probably score in this game, but I think Germany's attack is just too good, and so I'm going to go for. I think it's going to be tight, but I think Germany will push ahead, and then we'll maybe get a goal in the last minute as well. I'm going to go 3-1 Germany.
3-1, nice. Henry?
I'm going to go for a 2-2. I'm going to go for it.
The famous scoreline.
I think it's going to be fun.
We needed it.
No, I just Japan are in half decent form, unbeaten in the last 5. They've got, like you said, some great players. And actually, their defence, I think there's this idea that it's all quite diminutive in Japan. They're not. They've got some decent guys. Back there, Ito, he's someone to look out for, young centre half. I think he plays at Stuttgart.
Yoshida still in the squad?
Yoshida, yeah. I mean,
that's a little bit concerning.
It depends. Kamada's as well. Right, I really like him as a player. I think they're going to be a lot of fun. And the opening game, they're going to cause Germany a few problems. And I'm just sort of getting flashbacks to that Hungary game in the Euros a few years ago. I just feel like it could be that kind of game which Germany freeze a little bit. But let's not forget, Germany have not been great in the last few tournaments they've been in. There's a lot of pressure on Germany to do well in this tournament. They had an awful World Cup. They had a pretty bad Euros by their standards, and they've been rubbish in the Nations League. They certainly were in Joachim Löw's first one after the last World Cup. So there's a lot of pressure on Germany to show that they're still a big force, although I like Hansi Flick a lot. But 2-2.
2-2, there we have it. Guys, get your predictions for those 3 games in the comments down below. We're not doing quickfire questions this week because we did such a bumper first section, really. We were talking for ages about all the teams, the players, etc. Getting very excited for the World Cup now. Guys, get your predictions, as I said, in the comments. Let us know your golden ball winners, golden boot winners, etc. in there as well. McCubs, before we get into our World Cup mode, is there anything you'd like to push to?
World Cup content has kind of exploded in the last kind of day or so. We've got Team Talk over on Football Daily, which came out yesterday. That was myself and Joe kind of arguing with James Lawrence Alcott and Rory Jennings. So as you can imagine. So there's that. There's also Henry's kind of World Cup video that came out. Was it end of last week or start?
Yeah, really well worth watching. Very well researched.
So that's great. And I think that's. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, Continental Club Extra as well, where we ranked all the strikers at the World Cup as well. So check that out.
Nice, Henry.
Yeah, all of that stuff.
All of that stuff, guys. Enjoy the weekend. Settle in for World Cup. We'll catch you next week. Bye bye.